Traffic, traffic, traffic. How much more can Bengaluru put up with it? India's Silicon Valley, Bangalore is now the nation's most congested city in terms of vehicular traffic, and it is getting worse. Today, I want to pick up a tweet by BJP MP Tejasvi Surya, who took to X to complain about the situation. Bangalore South MP has said that the traffic scene in Bengaluru is getting more distressing with every passing day. Even Sundays, which used to be relatively easier, is becoming as nightmarish as the weekdays. This is a statement that most Bengaloreans would find hard to disagree with, isn't it? Now the MP has also gone on to say and basically highlight the urgency of the situation. He says that something drastic has to be done to address this, and it needs to be done now with war-like urgency. We need to experiment with out-of-the-box solutions like the odd-even model or Singapore model of limiting the number of cars, or anything radical that works in the short term. Oof, come on. I'm all for radical solutions, Mr. Tejasvi Surya, but odd even system was a disaster in Delhi, and we have to learn from the failed system to understand that it is quite and simply impractical in Bengaluru. The BJP MP has also urged Bengaluru in charge Minister DK Shivakumar to call for an urgent meeting with the elected representatives and traffic management experts and discuss solutions. Alright, now I just want to add my 2 cents here. Bengaluru is known for its notorious traffic snarls across the city. But right now the vehicle pileups are reaching a level where it is becoming unmanageable. The tech hub of India is facing a crisis that is only going to exacerbate in the long term, and if ignored for long, this Silicon Valley will find itself in a traffic quicksand where any stopgap solutions will feel like it's only helping, but you only end up sinking deeper. Be it the Congress or the BJP or any other party, they need to understand that the city has given everything it can in terms of taxes, revenue and development. Now it's probably time to focus on other cities like Mysore, Hubli, Dharwad, Tumkuru and many others across Karnataka to create employment opportunities and take the pressure off Bengaluru. With an ever-rising population and 1,000 other problems, my question is, how long is this sustainable? How long before Bengaluru becomes unlivable? To discuss more on this, I am joined in now by Shrikant Narasimhan, the founder of Bengaluru Navanirmana Party. Thank you for joining us on this discussion today, Shrikant. Basically, you heard what
Thank you,
Surya
Gautam.
had to say. Now I just want to get your first reactions. Is there any solution to the Bangalore's traffic woes?
Thank you, Gautam, for having me over on this program. So let me start first by saying that the city does not need radical solutions to solve the traffic problem. What we need is simple solutions, which is staring at us in our face for a long, long time. And for that, we don't need political unity as Tejasvi Surya has been asking for. We need political will. We have had successive JDS, BJP, and Congress governments. All of them have been in power at different points of time and for sufficiently longish periods of time as well. None of them have shown the inclination to do those simple solutions. So, what are those simple solutions? I will start with the fundamental law, Parkinson's law, which states that work expands to fill the time available. And in the case of Bengaluru's traffic, I will tweak that law to say that traffic will always expand to fill the road available. What that effectively means is the more and more elevated roads and tunnels you keep constructing, people will be incentivized to keep buying more and more private vehicles, and they will keep filling the roads with that. There is no end to that. That will not solve the problem. That will not solve the traffic problem. What you will end up creating is what was earlier a series of smaller choke points. You will end up creating larger choke points at some specific points. The classic case in Bengaluru is the Hebal junction or the Hebal flyover. We all see how it gets completely chock-a-block. My question is, you constructed a flyover there to ease the flow of traffic from the airport into the city, but you end up having the biggest choke point there. Why is that? Because subsequently, as the traffic flows from there, it hits other roadblocks. And hence, more and more flyovers is just going to shift the choke points from one place to another. So what is the solution? The solution is always about public transport and multimodal transport. The governments have been obsessed with bringing in all these elevated projects, flyover projects, and tunnels. Let me ask, where is the suburban rail project, which has been languishing for 30 plus years? Look at the pace of the metro construction. Cities, forget about Singapore, London, Tokyo, Dubai, etc. In India, Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Chennai, Kolkata, all these cities have had a much, much faster pace of metro construction. Here, we are still, live with only two, let's say, lines, and we don't even know when the other lines are going to come in. It just keeps dragging on and on. The public transport buses, BMTC buses, the fleet hasn't increased in the past few years at all. Where are the feeder buses? We need smaller buses. You can't have these big buses running into all the small towns and villages and creating congestion and pollution.
Srikanth Narasimhan. We'll try and reconnect with him shortly. So basically, that is what's happening right here in Bangalore. Since Srikanth Narasimhan there also spoke about Hebbal, I just want to tell our viewers that there is a plan to decongest Hebbal, and right now, from what we hear, there's also breaking news also that's just come in. What we understand is that there's a meeting that's taken place to alleviate the traffic woes in Hebbal, and the meeting was chaired by Urban Development Department Chief, and the solutions that are being proposed here are basically things like construct railway underbridges and another elevated ramp over there and underpasses. These are more and more solutions like this which are going to be a problem for Bengaluru. The more ramps you construct, the more flyovers, are they really going to effectively solve the problem? If we keep looking at stopgap solutions here, it's going to create more jam. So, Srikanth, we seem to be having some difficulty with your connection there. We have Srinivas Alavali back online with us. Srinivas Alavali, a renowned public transport activist. Thank you for joining us, Srinivas. So, just
Thank you.
before, if you can hear me now, can you hear me, Srinivas?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Srinivas, just before we lost the connection with Srikanth there, he was just talking about how public transport, there is no focus coming on this at all. There are too many stopgap solutions being implemented in the form of underpasses, ramps and flyovers and tunnels and whatnot. But you've been advocating for public transport all the while. How frustrating is it to see the condition of Bangalore as it is now?
It is quite frustrating because while public transport infrastructure is very complicated, right? Especially when it comes to metro infrastructure or suburban train infrastructure. Bus is perhaps the easiest of the public transport to add because you can simply buy more buses and put them in use. But if it is metro or a suburban train, then you need to build the infrastructure, which includes all the way from land acquisition to purchasing of the trains to operating signaling systems, all that. So the lead time for public transport building is very high. We missed the boat 20 years ago, Gautam, but I have a slightly different opinion on it. I think the Bangalore public transport scenario is actually getting much better. You know how they say, right? It's always gets really dark before the light comes, right? We are at that phase right now, in my opinion. It's a considered opinion. Just look at some of the facts here, right? Not saying that we don't have a traffic problem right now or need to be addressed, but let's look at what's coming up. So in the last 1 year, from 23 to 24, both the metro and bus have recorded highest number of trips per day. Almost 30% more people are traveling in the bus thanks to Shakti scheme. 30% more people are traveling, more than 30% traveling in metro thanks to the purple line to Whitefield. The problem with metro we always had was that it wasn't going to any of the places where the IT sector is existing, which is where most of the traffic happens, right? So we have three main IT regions within Bengaluru. One is Whitefield, and second one is Electronic City, and the third one is the Outer Ring Road. We just got one of these three things done with metro. Later this year, November, December, hopefully, we will get the yellow line to Electronic City. And 2026, we'll get the mother of all metro lines, which is the blue line to Outer Ring Road. In between, there's going to be pink line in 2025. So from now to 2029, every year a new metro line is going to come. And by the December of 25, the first line of suburban train is going to come. So my calculation is that by 2029, the public transport network of Bengaluru will be about 360 kilometers long. Currently, it is 74 kilometers, so 5 times more. High speed public transport. I'm not talking about bus, I'm talking about metro and train, with some 266 stations, which means that for most people in Bengaluru, a metro station or a suburban train station will be within 1 or 2 kilometers from their home or the workplace. So we are in that period of building out that public transport, and it is slow, it is complicated, but my observation is that the construction pace of metro has picked up. There has been a lot of pressure on them, and now things have settled down. Approval has just come in from the union government for phase 3, which took 1 year, 9 months. I don't know why somebody would not approve Bengaluru metro for so many days. It just doesn't make any sense. Not that state government is doing great either. They have their own problems. So there is, like Shrikant mentioned earlier, there is a lack of political will, and all parties need to work together to make it happen. And the biggest thing I would say is that there is no magic wand to solve the traffic problems. As long as people keep buying more vehicles, as of today, Gautam, you will be stunned to know that every day 2,000 new vehicles are being registered in our city, including two-wheelers and four-wheelers. Now, this is a great economic success for Bengaluru, Karnataka, and India, right? That means that many people are able to afford personal vehicles. So, what is our problem? We can't accommodate all of them if they start using them for daily commute. So, what I say to people, and a lot of this is, the what the old saying is, right? Both garbage and traffic are not created by government, but the users. We create garbage, we only create traffic by using that. What is the role of government? To create a system to clear the garbage or to create a public transport system. So as they do that, what we can do is to try to use the public transport at least for the daily commute. Please go to Mysore, please go to Coorg, please go to wherever you want to go in your car. But when you go to your office and back every day, try not to use the car, at least not every day. So this is the kind of approach we're trying to take. Slightly different approach than saying public transport all the time, because you need to create better public transport, integrated public transport, multimodal public transport, and walking and cycling. This is a long list of things to be done. Many of these things can be done, should be done, must be done, and I think I appreciate the initiative by BJP MP today writing to the Deputy Chief Minister. That's the kind of thing that needs to be done. But if they all sit down and decide to create another flyover or a tunnel, then we are doomed, because that will bring even more cars. So we need agreement on the fact that Bengaluru is a golden goose, right? And we don't want to kill it. It's an economic engine for the entire country, I would say, even for the world, right? That much of economy is being generated here. So you need to be very careful about how you plan for it and do it. We don't have governance systems. We don't have deeper understanding of it within the government, and some of that is now happening. Right now, most people in the government that I work with also acknowledge that the solution for traffic problem is public transport. 5 years ago, when we did steel flyover beta and things like that, that was not the understanding. But now people understand that, because they used to think that if you add buses, where is the space for buses? Somebody asked me this, a very senior political leader asked me this question, and that's it's a valid question. A lot of people think like that, but the fact is that if you're able to bring 2,000 new two-wheelers and cars into the streets every day, you can surely bring buses. They will have space, and each bus is equivalent to 20 cars, 30 cars, right? 50 two-wheelers. So that is the way to think about it, and it's a journey that Bengaluru is going through. But I am convinced that the golden period of public transport for Bengaluru is about to unveil. We have to deal with that transition period that we're dealing with right now. In the meanwhile, we have climate change and flooding, so it brings its own challenges.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But just taking on Srinivas Alavali's point there, Srikant, do you share the optimism of Srinivas Alavali there that basically, okay, we seem to have lost him there. Yeah, Srikant, if you can hear me, Do you share the optimism of Srinivas Lavali? He's basically an analogy of the night is darkest before the dawn, and the golden period is yet to come in Bangalore. We seem to be having a little bit of an issue with Srikant's internet there. But Srinivas, like you rightly pointed out, the focus needs to be on building better public transport and also making sure that the planning is done in such a way that both the opposition and the government is together. But right now, when we see the solutions that are being proposed here by Tejasvi Surya as well, when it basically reflects a mindset as well. Is it an odd even model or the Singapore model of limiting the number of cars? When we think on those terms, are they the solution here? Because if it shows the kind of thinking that an elected representative has as of now. So if these two get together and also speak, the government and the opposition, and if these are the solutions that are being thought of, will they be a viable solution according to you?
One of the, I haven't had a chance to read the entire letter. One of the lines that I read is that he suggested that we invite the traffic experts or mobility experts into this meeting. So that itself is a welcome statement, because if politicians sit together, politicians are not expected to be experts in all domains. For example, the education minister doesn't need to know everything about education. He's a representative of the people. His job is to convene the experts and take everyone's opinion, public opinion, and make sure it's inclusive, make sure all opinions are heard. And it is not just the VIPs or the elite that describe the policy or design the policy, but that's the role of a political leader, in my view. So they might have ideas like odd even, and some of these things are like shock treatments, right? Delhi has tried it. Delhi has tried odd even for other reasons, for pollution, right? Not for congestion, but limited success. We all know what happened. But the traffic problem is so big, Gautam, that there isn't one solution, right? It will be foolish to think that, oh, I have the magic solution. If you do it, everything will get solved. Nobody can say that, not even me or anyone at all. So it's going to be a combination of solutions. It's going to be hyper local solutions. For example, in an apartment community, if there are 100 people living in a Bangalore gated community, lot of such communities, right? Millions of people live in such communities. They are the ones that own 2-3 cars. They are the ones that have high paying jobs. If they decide that, okay, if 100 people live here and if 80 of them are using car to go to office every day, we are causing that much traffic. Can we reduce it to 50? Okay, by carpooling, by taking metro, whatever their option might be. So at a local level, if you can reduce the dependency on cars, you are going to take away that much space from the roads. So some of this will come when the entire city thinks about it. Like Indore is famous for waste management, because not because government is so great and corporation did everything. They did good work, no doubt, but it's the citizens. The citizens of Indore have owned it. They take great pride in their city being the cleanest city, and they don't throw garbage, they segregate waste, all of that. Bengaluru being Bengaluru, very huge number of active citizens, very aware citizens. A lot of people in Bengaluru have been to other countries. They've gone on carpool lanes, they've paid on, they went, when they go to Singapore, they use the train. When they go to London, they never rent a car. So they know all of that. But in Bengaluru, they have a different attitude. So when this changes, everything will change. So I think multiple options should be tried. There is no silver bullet, and you should try it in a way that you are balancing long term infrastructure growth and short term needs. And one thing I would say is the bus, Gautam. Bus is the undoubtedly the lifeline of Bengaluru. As of today, every day 42 lakh trips are happening in the bus in a given day. A total of 1 crore trips happen in the city, roughly. So 42 lakh of that trips happen in a small number of vehicles, which is less than 6,000. So the advantage of bus is that, unlike metro, if you buy buses, you can put them in operation tomorrow. BMTC is a very excellent organization with depots all over the city. That means they can park the buses there. They have electric buses. So if government wants to find quick solutions, the best thing to do is to procure more buses. Procuring buses is a lot faster and cheaper than adding another metro line or a suburban train. So I would say that the politicians of Bengaluru should fight for more buses. We need 12,000 buses in our city based on our population. We have 6,000. Delhi is doing a great job adding more and more buses, but Bangalore is lagging behind.
Right now, if Shrikant, you're back online with us. Yeah, perfect. So, Shrikant, you heard what Srinivas Alavali had to say. You can add on to what he said as well. But also, I want to mention that you've been an advocate for BMLT as well, which is the Bangalore Metropolitan Land Transport Authority Bill, which was passed in 2023, if I'm not wrong. Now, even after that, there's been very limited sort of functioning of this authority. And basically, do we also need a sort of unified transport body as well? Would that, go a long way in towards providing a sort of solution, if not a long-term solution, but at least solutions that add up to what Srinivas Alavali was speaking there, saying that, there cannot be an absolute solution, but at least it gets to a point where it is bearable.
Yeah, Gautam, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Gautam, I'll just carry on from where Srini left off. So first, I think he made a very relevant point, which is there is no silver bullet or there's no one single solution to as massive a problem as Bengaluru's traffic. It has to be multimodal in nature and there has to be a multi-pronged approach. And that's where something like the BMLTA bill will definitely come into play or the authority comes into play. But before that, I do not necessarily carry that kind of a rosy picture that Srinivas Alavali has. Yes, the pace of metro construction has increased without any doubt whatsoever. That's the good news, but it's still going to take a few more years. The bigger problem that I see is the last mile connectivity is absolutely pathetic. And in fact, when I left off, when my connection went off earlier, I was talking about my own example. I live on Old Madras Road. I live not too far from a metro. So whenever I get the chance, I do take the metro. I even walk to the metro line or sometimes just take the bus, which is one stop away, and then take the metro from there. But I live in an area where if I just go a little bit inside Nagavarapalya, Kagdasapura, etc., the lanes are narrow, the roads are not all that big. It's very difficult for the big BMTC buses to go in there. Expecting people to use cycles or walk in those lanes is extremely difficult because these are too congested and very, very difficult to navigate. Now, the last mile connectivity is something that the government has to address as part of the BMLTA thing, if at all they're going to implement it in spirit and not just in letter. And what I mean by that is you can't have 6,000 more buses added of the same size and expect the problem to be solved. We have to think of other kinds of simple solutions as well. Smaller buses, mini buses, vans that can navigate the narrower lanes or the smaller roads of the interior parts of the city, which is where the last mile has to be connected through. I don't see any initiative on that front that has happened in a significant manner. Interestingly, when I look at the outer ring road connectivity, or the 500D buses, I think you should sometime go on outer ring road and see. There are so many 500D buses that just keep running one after the other, many of them half empty or even 75% empty. Completely poorly planned on those fronts. Whereas the roads inside, now you look at outer ring road also. Let's say for the moment, let's assume the outer ring road metro is in place. You look at places like Harlur Road, Junnasandra Road, you look at places that go into Kadugodi, of course, now it's there, but let's say Parapana Agrahara, Nallurhalli Main Road. All these places, you won't have direct metro connectivity and you won't have buses going in there. I've talked to a lot of people who have said, hey, I want to use the metro, but there is no way for me to reach the metro, and hence, or at the minimum, it's so complicated for me to get to the metro, I'm not going to use that. And that's really where the Bengaluru Metropolitan Land Transport Authority comes into play. We need to think of integrated solutions. The metro, thankfully, is going at a much faster clip. Suburban rail, of course, is nowhere to be seen still. The bus infrastructure has to be improved, but not with more and more big buses being added, but with smaller buses, vans that get added, and which have more frequency to the interior parts of various parts of the city. cycling lanes do not exist at all. Now, some of the cycling lanes exist in places where people go for just using their cycle from a health perspective, or they just want to sort of give vent to their passion of cycling. But when we look at cycling as a form of a multimodal transport to connect to the bus infrastructure or the metro infrastructure, I don't see too many people being incentivized to use it because the infrastructure just is missing. So the government needs to implement not just the BMLTA bill, and not just in letter, but it has to implement it in spirit. It has to involve people, citizens specifically, who've been involved in walking initiatives, cycling initiatives, people who are vocal advocates of the bus transport infrastructure, the metro infrastructure, and also brainstorm solutions on how the integrated multimodal, let's say, form of transport can be better and more efficiently utilized. For that, you don't need political parties to come together. The party in power has to invite mobility experts of different forms, look at how the BMLT has to be constituted, implement that in spirit. That is a solution to the city's problems. Once you have done all of this, then you can think about where the choke points are from a private transport perspective. I'm not completely against, let's say, flyovers or underpasses in specific areas. It can help ease traffic, but not that being the first priority or that being the first port of call. You implement all this public transport infrastructure, you sort of get the multimodal transport going, incentivizing people to use that. And once all of this is implemented, you see where the choke points are, and then you can always see where to implement the underpasses, the flyovers, or the tunnels, or whatever you want to.
But I just want both of you gentlemen to just look at the visuals on your screen there. You know, all of these flood choking points that we are seeing there. A lot of these visuals are from Hebald, where the construction is happening for this flyover, the other additional ramp that they want to add, and other choke points are always around the metro construction that's happening around the city. So, how do we fix these issues while we continue to bat for better metros and public transport? Where is the planning for this year, Srinivas? Because this is a situation, you can see the traffic police there having to step onto the roads. They are having to do the work of the BBMP and the government. And this is so pathetic for them that besides being on the roads, trying to sort out the traffic mess, and this is the kind of scenes that we are witnessing in Bangalore right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely a shame and embarrassment for all of us to see traffic police forced to dig through sewage and put their hands in all kinds of places and try to relieve that. But Gautam, this is not a traffic problem, right? You do realize that this is nothing to do with traffic. This is everything to do with concretization, right? So there is concretization everywhere. Bengaluru is a city of India with plenty of rainfall, more rainfall than probably other than Meghalaya, we get most amount of rainfall in this country. For a big city like Bengaluru, we get really good amount of rainfall, which is a blessing if you know how to save it and how to store it in our lakes, which have been handed down to us by kings and all the earlier administrations for hundreds of years. It's a 500-year-old city, right? Without all of that, but yet again, just like the economic development brought in so many vehicles on our roads,
One second,
the number
Srinivasa.
of people.
Srikanth, you wanted to add something? You're on mute, Srikanth. Srikanth, you're on mute. Yeah, Srikanth, you're on mute. Yeah,
No, am I audible?
yeah, go on. You're saying
No,
something?
no, I am sorry. I have to leave the call now. No, no, I have
Okay.
another thing at 7 o'clock. Already I overshot. So
Okay,
can I
okay.
step off now?
All
Yeah, I've
right.
already given my
See,
points.
I just want to get some
Yeah.
final thoughts from you as well, because just we've talked a lot about public transport and policies. I just want to get your final thoughts on how, because we've seen traffic police play a crucial role as well in managing. M.A. Salim also, when he took charge, there was a lot of changes that we witnessed in how traffic is managed in Bangalore. How big a role do traffic police play according to you, and your final thoughts as well, Srikanth?
Oh, on that front, it's a very simple thing, right? The traffic police, of course, has an important role to play, but all of that can be sorted out if the other parts are, sorted out. Today, half the time of the traffic police is spent on trying to solve choke points which exist only because the public transport infrastructure is not in place and people are using more and more vehicles. I think if we are able to get people to use public transport a lot more and use their private vehicles, as Shini rightly said, more for the irregular use. As if people have cars only for over, let's say a weekend travel to a mall with family, or let's say a trip to an overseas place or an outstation place, and not use their private vehicles for their day-to-day use, like going to the office or dropping their kids off to school, etc. The problem that the traffic police faces will automatically be solved there. And once that is done, there are who take part in the traffic warden organization who help in managing traffic as well. But then, if you give them an impossible problem to solve with the kind of heavy traffic that you see on the roads, they will not be able to do a good job. So, if you're able to get these other parts right, I don't see a problem in the traffic police managing the city very well, along with the help of citizens in the form of traffic wardens.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah,
Srikant. My final thoughts I just want to get
thank you.
from
I'll take it over.
Srinivas
Please.
as well. Srinivas, the problem with Bangalore is also that the city is expanding. We have numerous industries coming up. We have IT parks. We have industrial townships coming up. The city seems to be expanding more and more. But isn't this a part of the problem as well? Because as much as we can get public transport, we can get the buses, we can get the metros. But if there are tens and thousands and lakhs of people coming into the city, then it's just going to, the problem is just going to be there forever, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There is limits to growth, right? Beyond a point, growth can become a very serious issue. Like this happens everywhere. Many cities of the world have gone through this. They grow, and then something terrible happens, and then they stop growing or actually go in the opposite direction. So that risk is present for Bengaluru, right? And therefore, it is important for the country, the state, and all political parties to think this through, right? What makes Bengaluru so attractive for new businesses, new companies to come in? And if you think about it and you try to work from there, and many governments, including the last government, I remember Dr. C.N. Ashwath Narayana as Deputy CM or IT Minister, launched the Beyond Bengaluru campaign, right, which is carried forward by today's government too. One of the nice things about Karnataka government is there's certain continuity across political parties and all that. But they've tried very hard. As an observer, I could see that the government is trying to create incentives and trying to get people to other cities, Hubli, Dharwad, and many other North Karnataka, many cities, but very limited success. That's because the ecosystem of Bengaluru, the talent pool of Bengaluru, all of that is very important. It's not so much as it has great restaurants and it has great parks, but it's also about the talent pool, right? So there is very complicated thing to solve. So how do you get people to go when they want to be here, right? Because as a industry, if you and I or CEOs are trying to set up a new 1,000 member team to build the next big thing, right? The next big unicorn, whatever. You don't care about traffic. You don't care about flooding and traffic police and all that. You care about, can I get the best software engineers or hardware engineers to build my product? That's how they think about it. And that legend of Bengaluru keeps growing, right? If anywhere in the world, if you want to start a new company and hire 100 senior experienced serious programmers, there is only one place for it, right? Two places, maybe California and then Bengaluru, right? That is the greatness of Bengaluru. So how do you now turn around and say, okay, can we move some of this to others? So this can only happen if some of the established companies which do a different sort of job, which doesn't require, and lot of people that work in these IT companies are actually from the towns and villages of Karnataka, right? We already know that there's a lot of in migration from Karnataka to other states. So talent pool exists, but I guess the real challenge is identifying companies that can leverage the talent pool in those areas and then get it going there. So this requires extensive deliberations between large corporations and startup ecosystem with the IT/BT department. Karnataka government for decades has been proactive about it. The electronic city is a creation of government of Karnataka back in the late 70s and all of that. So if they put their mind to it and think of how to expand this, and recently they've done something about Bengaluru, what is that, Ramanagara district being renamed as Bengaluru South, right? You remember that. So a lot of people made fun of it, and it's a joke and all of that. I thought that's a very good strategy, because if they want the name Bengaluru, you're giving the name Bengaluru. You're not changing anything there. So if they feel like they're in Bengaluru, great. And if people commit to building there, automatically you build the other things. So you need to build the infrastructure. You already have the Bengaluru Mysuru high speed, what do you call, expressway. Metro line is going till Kengeri now and with potential to go there. Suburban train is there. There's a railway line to Mysore with train every half an hour. There's a train to Mysore, if I'm not mistaken, or every 1 hour. So well connected by road, by rail. Metro is almost towards end of that. So you need to think about creative solutions to offload. Suburban train project, which we didn't talk much about, is exactly going to do that, because it's going to shift the Bengaluru's pressure into Tumkuru, into Chikbalapura, Dodbalapura, towards electronic city. It's going to give you a more distributed growth of Bengaluru. But in the meanwhile, what happens, right? While we have great projects, you are not going to standing still, right? You're growing while the projects are being building. So this is the chicken and egg problem. So this is why you need the political understanding and political will, really, right? The biggest thing the political parties work on is real estate. So if their whole idea is real estate, you need to make sure that some other real estate is good. Then automatically things will start happening there. We have to acknowledge that there's a political economy. We can't act and talk as if it doesn't exist and everything is perfectly scientific and all that. It never works like that.
So thank you so much, Srinivasarali. Basically, I really love the optimism and the positivity with which you look at, instead of looking at it as a doomsday scenario, you look at it as something that is, like you rightly put, the night is darkest before the dawn. So we hope that is the case for Bengaluru and the traffic solutions come sooner than later. Thank you for joining us today on this discussion on India Today SoSouth.
Thank you.